Okay, full disclosure up front, nobody has announced Saints Row 77. Nobody has confirmed Saints Row 77. What we have is a pitch. And if you've never worked in games, a pitch it's like getting invited to a restaurant. You're in the building, you smell food, but you could still absolutely leave hungry. I've been to that restaurant, I've watched people order the special, and then the kitchen just doesn't. But here's why I'm risking the disappointment. The idea itself is genuinely clever. A 1970s prequel. People are calling it Saints Row 77. Might be the only way this franchise gets out of its own way. It fixes the tone problem, it escapes the fans' civil war, and it lets the series be edgy again without feeling like, hello, fellow criminals. It's smart, I hate that it's smart, I wanted to make fun of this. So, Chris Stockman, he worked on the original Saints Row, said on LinkedIn, because yes, I'm the guy who reads LinkedIn, so you don't have to, that he was asked to put together a pitch for a prequel. Not VR, not a battle royale, a prequel. His words, back toward the roots. Somewhat grounded, but still zany and satirical. And the 77 nickname floating around suggests the 1970s setting. Now, footnote of doom. Late January 2026, some Discord messages started circulating saying the pitch got canned. Is that true? I have no idea. Discord messages are not press releases. That's smoke spotted in the distance, not the building is definitely on fire. But let's pretend the building's fine for a second, because the interesting part isn't whether it exists, it's why the 70s is the only time machine that actually works for the series. Saints Row has lived 3 completely different lives, and the fans are still fighting about which one was real. Life 1, grimy street crime, building power, actual stakes. Life 2, we are now a cartoon. The president fights aliens. Nothing matters. Life 3, the reboot, which felt like it was written by a committee of brand managers who were terrified of being disliked. Is this too edgy? Is this not edgy enough? Let's workshop the edge. And the trap is, you can't just say we're going back to the roots in 2026, because the roots mean 17 different things to 17 different people. If you said it in the modern day, you walk straight back into the war zone. But the 70s? The 70s is a cheat code. It lets you say new lane, new rules, same DNA without having to apologize to anyone. Here's the actual secret sauce. The 70s let Saints Row be edgy without being cringe. Modern day satire is a minefield. Everything sounds like Twitter, everything becomes, hello fellow criminals, I too enjoy the jaywalking. But in the 70s, the world does the heavy lifting for you. The fashion is loud, the cars are bigger than my room, the culture is chaotic. The crime aesthetic is already baked in, and the city can feel dirty and dangerous without the writers trying so hard it hurts. Saints Row's best satire was never, lol, random dildo bat. It was, this is a crime story that's also making fun of crime stories. The 70s gives you that naturally. You can have serious gang conflict and ridiculous side activities in the same breath, and it doesn't feel like whiplash. It feels like the era. It's like the setting itself is wearing platform shoes and carrying a loaded revolver. That's the vibe, that's the whole game right there. A prequel also solves the continuity problem, which is currently a civil war in the comments section. If you do a sequel, you have to answer, okay, which Saints Row are we continuing from? And that question alone starts a fan war that lasts 6 years. But a prequel, we're not continuing your argument, we're starting the legend. It gives you freedom to build a fresh origin story, reintroduce gang culture with actual stakes, do satire in a cleaner way, and crucially, earn the ridiculous stuff instead of starting at 11. And yes, I know people will say, but the Saints weren't around in the 70s. Cool, great, perfect. That's the point. You don't call them the Saints in hour 1. You show the world that creates them. The kind of city where a gang like that becomes inevitable. That's the story. If this ever stops being a pitch and starts being a game, here's the blueprint. 1. A city that feels hostile. Not a playground, not a theme park, a place where you can feel the pressure just driving around. 2. Progression that's criminal, not cute. Territory, reputation, actual consequences, enemies that don't feel like foam swords. 3. Satire that punches at systems. Corruption, hypocrisy, corporate rot, fake law and order, not, haha, look a wacky hat. And 4. Side activities that feel illegal, dangerous, and funny. Saints Row always nailed activities, but make them feel like I absolutely should not be doing this. Not, this is a friendly minigame in a safe universe. If Stockman's pitch is aiming for that earlier vibe with the satire dialed in, that's exactly the right direction. Now, the depressing part. Even if Saints Row 77 is a genius idea, A pitch is still a pitch, and this franchise isn't exactly walking into that meeting with a crown on its head. The reboot happened, it went how it went, and then Volition got shut down under Embracer Group. So if this gets funded, it's not, here's 200 million, go nuts, and put a gun that shoots dubstep in it. It's a prove it project. Smaller scope, smarter design, survive or die. And that's why the 70s is smart again. You can make it feel fresh and stylish without needing the biggest budget on earth. You can do more with atmosphere than with explosions. And then there's also the trust problem. If you know, you know. The Saints Row 2 PC patch situation has been a running joke for years. Promises, delays, radio silence, especially after the studio closure. So even if someone announces Saints Row is back, the audience doesn't go, yes! They go, okay, but are you gonna finish it? Are you gonna support it? Or is this another trust me bro and then it just disappears? That's why if Saints Row comes back, it has to come back with one goal. Not hype, not trailers, not memes, belief. So yeah, I genuinely think a 1970s prequel is the best possible move. It escapes the continuity war, it fixes the tone, it gives the series a new identity without abandoning what worked. But it's still a pitch, and pitches die quiet deaths every day in this industry. So I want to know, if Saints Row came back as a 70s prequel, what do you actually want? Saints Row 1 grit? Saints Row 2 personality? And what's the one feature that would instantly convince you this franchise is actually back? Not just announced, but back. Drop it below. And if the next Saints Row isn't set in the 70s, fine. Set it in 2009. Make the soundtrack legally questionable again. I'm flexible, I'm desperate, I'll take what I can get.